Knitters. Hi, it's Heidi. This is episode 2 of Cast on Another, a knitting podcast. So I want to start by saying thank you. When I recorded episode 1, it was sort of like a trial run. I wanted to see if people were even interested in a podcast from me. The response that I received was very warm. I want to thank everybody for the support, for the comments, the encouragement, the sweet notes that people left for me. I'm really touched, and it is what pushed me to do another episode, and we'll see if the enthusiasm continues. So in full confession, I almost didn't record episode 2. And the reason is because I began to compare myself to others. I love knitting podcasts. I watch several of them religiously. I love listening to somebody talk about their knitting, to hear what yarns they're using. They introduced me to patterns that I hadn't previously seen. I really enjoy watching podcasts while I knit. And so, I've been doing that for years, but since I recorded episode number 1, I haven't been watching podcast episodes the same. I began comparing myself to others, and one of the things that struck me is that they had so many foes to show. On occasion you'll get a podcaster that they're like, oh, I just cast on this sweater today, and this is in one episode, and it's for some very intricate full-length sweater, and you come back 2 weeks later to their podcast and they're completely done. They're done. The sweater is blocked. It's got buttons on it. It looks absolutely fabulous. They did it in 2 weeks. My head is spinning at the thought. And, that's not going to be me. And I hope that no one minds that. For one, I'm not a real fast knitter. I knit pretty slow, or maybe, less than average. And I have a full-time job and a husband and a dog and family that lives nearby that we like to do things with. I belong to a church. And, just between all of my other obligations and things that are important to me, and I do have, a few other hobbies that I dabble in, nothing quite as intensive as knitting, but, I like to do a variety of things. So maybe I don't get as much time to knit as some of these people that whip out these super complicated projects in no time at all. So at any rate, I almost didn't even record episode 2 because I was feeling inadequate. Excuse me. So I'm hoping that despite all of my shortcomings and that maybe you'd still enjoy it. And maybe there's a place out there for a podcast to encourage people who maybe they don't feel like they measure up to these super knitting divas out there too, we don't all have to be, queen bee of the knitting world. I think it's important that we just have fun. I love to knit. I'm going to have fun knitting. I am going to have fun podcasting. And I'm not going to put so much pressure on myself that my knitting ceases to be fun or that podcasting ceases to be fun. So you're just going to get the raw me. This is this is it. This is what I'm able to accomplish, and I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it is what it is. Either people like it or they don't, and I'm okay with that. So, speaking of my failures, the last time we met, you may recall that I was on my way up to New York. Okay, this part isn't a failure. I was on my way to New York because my first granddaughter was going to be born. And I'm happy to say that she's very happy, healthy, contented little baby. She was, it didn't look like she was going to be born while I was there. I was starting to become nervous because I had a fixed vacation schedule away from work, and I had flights booked and everything. And I even booked the trip for the week after the baby was due because I was afraid if I did it the week she was due, I would have, potentially not got to meet her. And so I go there the week afterward, and it still looked like the baby wasn't going to be born. I took my daughter to her appointments, and they did a sonogram, and they said that A, the baby was very big, and B, that my daughter was not at all dilated and not at all effaced, and things just weren't happening. My daughter didn't feel any contractions, nothing. And I was starting to really get nervous. It was going to break my heart if I had to board that plane and come home before she was born. Well, because my daughter had had a C-section with her first baby, they did not want to induce labor, given the fact that they thought that this baby was going to be big. They said she was going to be like 9.5 pounds. But as it turns out, anyway, they did a C-section. Good for me because I was guaranteed I was going to see the little bambino before I had to go home. But a little disappointing for my daughter who wanted to go with a natural childbirth this time around. Not the end of the world. People have C-sections. It's all good. But it would have been nice for her to have that experience. The important part is that my daughter's fine. My grandbaby is great. She has a very long name. And she didn't end up being as big as they thought she was going to be. She ended up only being 7 pounds 11 ounces, so she's kind of tiny. But anyway, this tiny baby has this really big name. Her name is Amina Anastasia Rochelle Jackson. Yeah, Amina Anastasia Rochelle Jackson. I just call her Amina. And some people have taken to giving her the nickname Mimi, which I think that's kind of cute. And when I was a teenager, my best friend's name was Mimi, so it has, I have positive thoughts of that name, so that's good. At any rate, you might also recall the episode was called Baby Knits, or Lots of Baby Knits, because I had knit a whole bunch of things for the baby. And wouldn't you know that ever since that baby was born, the temperatures have been in the 90s up there, which is uncharacteristically warm for upstate New York. And for those of you who are in Celsius, it's been over 32 degrees ever since. So the baby did get to wear the dress that I knit her. She only got to wear it like one morning because then it started getting humid and it was too warm for her to wear it after that. But At any rate, I think it's just now starting to cool off a little bit. So hopefully she'll get to wear some of the other things I made. I did make some things that, you know, are bigger sizes, and she should be able to wear them coming up. Also on that trip, I didn't get in the knitting time I thought I was going to get in. I had a week off of work, so I was excited because I thought I'd get in some power knitting time, but just didn't work out that way. I was able to knit on the plane, and the whole time I was there, I think I knit a total of 2 rows the whole time. You know, it was just really busy. It was busy in a good way. I got to see my kids. I got to spend time with my grandkids. Oh, just love them. I will share some pictures of the grandkids and so you can see. But okay, so here's some more failures. I have been working on the Donner. I love the pattern. Particularly, I've seen you know, some other people's finished objects for this pattern, and I loved how they turned out. The pattern, the pictures that they have for the pattern itself, I'm not as enamored with. It calls for a lot of positive ease, 6 inches of positive ease. But I've seen other people knit it with less positive ease, and I liked it a lot more. So I started that, and the way that this is constructed, I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the cast right here, I think. Yeah. Right here is the cast on edge. And you cast on there, and I knit down, and then when you get so many stitch repeat sections down, you break the yarn, hold the stitches temporarily. Then you pick up stitches along the cast on edge and you start knitting in the opposite direction. And then there's short row shaping to create the sleeve. Well, or like the shoulder, I guess. The shoulder like this. There's the neck. And short rows created that. And then you come over to the other side and you use short rows to create that shaping. And then you cast on some stitches for the front, and further short row shaping creates, you know, the scoop neck. Through no fault of the pattern or the designer or anything, I keep screwing it up. It's not because the pattern's not well written. It's written perfectly fine. I like to watch TV while I knit, and I am one of these people that works on autopilot a lot, and I'm going along, and I keep like going past where I was supposed to go, and then I gotta rip it out, and then the instructions were a little confusing to me in one area. It didn't make much sense, and I think I did it wrong, and then I pulled it out again, and anyway, I ended up setting it aside, and I'm going to come back to it. I definitely want this finished object. I want this top. And I will feel very accomplished if I complete this. When I'm going to work on it, I don't know. So I just got to wait until I feel it. And then the other project that I was working on at the time was my Whip It cardigan. And I don't even have it here handy to show you, but I was having a problem with the sleeve, where the sleeve was just too tight. And I have pulled that sleeve out and redone it so many times. I tried a bigger needle, knit it again, still too tight. I don't know. I just got fed up with it. I set that one aside too. So true to the name of the podcast, what did I do? I cast on another. So I guess the podcast is appropriately named. So what did I cast on? The very next thing I did, and it's my only photo show, is I knit a pair of socks. I knit these socks in Knit Picks Stroll Tonal in the Pansy colorway. I hope the color turns out okay. Honestly, the lighting in this room that I'm sitting is not great. I may, this is not the same location that I recorded in before. I'm kind of experimenting with different areas of the house, so I might bop around from episode to episode until I am happy with where I'm recording. Anyway, so this is a faux. It's not just a hoe. And don't laugh. I'll tell you why I only have one of these to show to you. So this is my very first set of sock blockers. I never owned a pair of sock blockers before, and it was my first time using sock blockers. And I've got to be honest with you, I was so scared that when I took the sock off of here, it would be some ill-shapen thing that doesn't fit a real foot anymore. And I know that everybody else uses these, and that, logically I knew it would be fine and everything, but in my head I'm like, oh no. So the reason the other one is not on here is because I took it off and I put it on my foot. And for anybody else that would worry that this would misshapen your foot or your socks so that it doesn't fit your foot right anymore, I am going to assure you that it does. It fits just fine. But it's kind of cool having a set of sock blockers. I'll tell you why I never owned them before. It's because, confession time. This is my second confession. I'm not a huge sock knitter. I know there are people out there that love knitting socks. And they just have drawers full of hand knit socks. But you know what? It's just not my favorite thing in the world to do. And for a while there, I thought to myself, I must not be a good knitter because all these knitters love knitting socks, and it's just not something I really, really dig, But I am going to try to knit more socks. Part of the reason why I want to try to knit more is because there are so many cool sock yarns out there. A pair of socks doesn't take too terribly long, and I am all about instant gratification. But the primary reason is, when I first knit socks, I was doing the cuff down, heel flap, and gusset, and honestly, I didn't like the way they fit. I have really tiny feet. I only wear a US size 5 in a shoe, 5.5. But anyway, I have tiny feet, and those heel flap and gussets just always felt so bulky, and it didn't even matter how, I'd always knit the smallest size of a sock, and I'd use tiny needles, and I still just didn't like it. But ever since I discovered the Fish Lips Kiss heel, I love the way my socks are fitting. So if you have not tried the Fish Lips Kiss heel, I am going to encourage you to do it. It might make the difference between you liking hand knit socks and not liking them. I'll tell you another thing that made a difference for me. All these socks seem to have like pointed toes. As you know, people have all sorts of different size and shape feet and toe configurations and everything. Some people have a really long like pointer toe, and some people have the middle toe is longer than the other toes. And well, my feet are very boxy. My toes are fairly straight across and on the top. And like I said, they're little. I don't have very long feet. But I had to just accept the fact that most patterns out there are not written for a toe that's going to fit my foot. They're just not. So I have just been kind of winging it with socks. The way that I made these, I used the figure 8 cast on. The figure 8 is the simplest cast on that I am aware of for toe-up socks. I can't think of a way that a cast on could be easier than that. If you haven't seen how to do a figure 8 cast on, I will link to a how-to video in the show notes, and give it a try. It makes easy work of it. But most patterns will have you knit, cast on like 24 stitches for the toe. That makes a far too pointy toe for me, so I cast on 36 inches. I gotta tell you, I love it. I love the fit of my socks with a lot more stitches cast on, and it's because I have those boxy toes. So I did the figure 8 cast on with 36 stitches. I did a KFB at each end, every other row, to do the toe increases. Just knit the foot to the desired length, and to like here on my Fish Lips Kiss heel form. And then I knit the leg to the desired length, and I did a 1x1 rib followed by Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And if you're unfamiliar with that, I will put a link to a video in the show notes for that too. And you know, with those skills, you can knit your own pair of socks that fits you perfect. You know, isn't that hard? And with all these self-striping yarns and all of that, you don't even have to do some intricate pattern in the body of the sock. You can still have cool, interesting socks just because the yarn's cool. So on the topic of Fish Lips Kiss heel, I know there have been some people out there that didn't want to try it. One thought was that, you know, it just sounds weird. What the heck is a Fish Lips Kiss heel? Whatever, get past that. The other thing is it costs money. It's a $2 pattern. It's really cheap, actually. And 3, other people have purchased the pattern, but then they get nervous when they open the document. It is a lot of pages. I don't know, 6 pages, 8 pages. I don't know exactly, but it's a long document. But I'm here to tell you that the pattern is only so long because it gives a lot of background into why she went looking for a new method, how she discovered the method, why the method works, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes right down to it, the instructions for actually how to do this, it's only a couple of steps. There's one section that tells you how to make your little form. What you're going to do is, you know, step on a piece of cardboard, have someone outline your foot for you. You make some marks at certain intervals, and then from that point on, you can always make a sock that fits you perfect just by using this form. And so you can go around to your friends and family and get cardboard forms of their feet as well, and you can always make them a pair of socks that fit their foot absolutely perfect without having them there. Um, and it's just so cool. So there's a couple of steps for how to make this form, and then the knitting instructions for it. It is a short row heel. But the way that the instructions were written, it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's like no counting or anything. It's just so simple. And the heel turns out so great. I'm gonna either insert other video or insert a still photo. I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do yet, to just show you what my socks look like on my feet and how well they fit and what the Fishlet's Kiss heel looks like. It fits like a store-bought sock. So honestly, I think store-bought socks fit pretty good, you know, but it's more fun to knit your own. So that's it about the socks that I was working on. Okay, so I have a couple of whips. I need to pause you for just... Okay, I'm back. I forgot to put this in my general proximity and I had to go get it. But I was between projects and I was waiting for a yarn shipment to come in the mail. And I had this awesome skein of yarn that my dear son bought for me. My kid gets me. It was Mother's Day, and guess what he sent in the mail? A whole bunch of Knit Picks yarn. That boy scored some points, let me tell you. Anyway, this is a skein of Knit Picks Alpaca Cloud. Let's see how well that comes in. I don't know if it's going to end up being blurry. There you go. Focused in on it. This is the Elise colorway. It is 100% alpaca, and it is so soft, so luxurious feeling. And the colorway is pretty cool. It had, you know, it's like a greenish blue, an aqua type color, but it does have flecks of like a lighter green in there. And it's got all the fuzziness of alpaca. I love all those like natural fibers coming off of it. Anyway, I decided to go out on a limb. I had an idea for a hat and I just started knitting it. We'll see if it turns out being nifty or if it's just queer and a waste of time and I need to you know, unravel it and make something else with this yarn. But here's what I did. I used a mock rib for the brim, or mock cable rib for the brim. And then what I did was I split the stitches in half. I cast on 120 stitches. It is a fingering weight yarn. I split the stitches in half and I knit half of them and I purled the other half. And then on each row I offset where I made the transition. So it is now going diagonal between stockinette and reverse stockinette, and it goes around the hat. Okay, so I don't know if it's going to be cool or not, but let's see. Put it on the head. Excuse my knitting needles coming out of it. Whew. Okay, so this is, you know, how it looks on. I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. And, you know, no matter where you put it on your head, it's going to have, you know, an angle somewhere. What I did do, I think that I started my decreases just a little too premature. I'm thinking that I might rip it out to where I start the decreases, knit an inch or two more, and then start the decreases. I like my hat to come down, you know, over my earlobes so that if I'm chilly, I have something to cover them. And this alpaca is so soft. Alpaca cloud, it's called. So at any rate, there is that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on. I don't know. I might just be able to finish this off and still have it. I would always err on the side of having a little extra fabric at the top than to have it so tight that it won't cover my earlobes, because I have chubby earlobes. Anyway, so there is that. Oh, and I indicated earlier that I was waiting for some yarn to come in the mail. My son, like I said, had purchased me yarn for Mother's Day. This was one of the skeins. This is Knit Pick Stroll hand painted. The colorway is called Malbec, which I think is very appropriate for this yarn. And I kept looking at it and wondering, what am I going to make with you? And I decided that if I bought 2 more skeins and coordinating colors, that I could make a color affection shawl. I am so behind the times on this. I have had this shawl in my favorites for years, and I finally got around to casting one on, and I see that there have been over 15,000 people, well, not over 15,000, nearly 15,000 people have made this shawl already. So I'm way behind the times. But anyway, this was one of the colors. I also bought, again, in Knit Picks Stroll, hand painted. This colorway is called Seashell. I think it's pretty appropriate if you think about like the inside of a seashell and those pinks and, you know, creams and whatnot. So there's that one. And then this one is called Train Station. Again, very appropriately named. All these different shades of gray. This is a very cool color. And I took a very attractive photo of these skeins all balled up and stacked out near my pool. And I was really excited. I like each of the skeins. I like the colorways individually. I liked them in a group. But I started knitting the Color Affection shawl, and I'm not sure that I'm digging it all together. I don't dislike it by any means. I am going to finish it. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to love it. But I think that if I were to make another one, that you know what, I just realized I only have one earring on. Oh, there you go. I can't even remember to put both earrings in. Great. Oh, what a disaster. Anyway, but if I were to make another one, and I might, I might make some different choices. Like these 2 colors, they're great, but you know what? They are almost too similar. This Malbec has some spots in it that it's so dark that it's almost black. Such a deep dark red that it almost looks black. And yeah, I think I would choose a little more contrast between those colors. Maybe I would keep this one and maybe do a brighter red, or maybe a solid red instead of a tonal. That might have looked a little bit better. But nonetheless, like I said, I don't dislike the shawl. I'm going to keep the shawl. I'm going to love the shawl. Um, but I will show you what I have here. So the shawl starts here. You start it by casting on only 5 stitches, and then through a series of increases, you create this little crescent section. For me, it's the seashell color. Then you start doing some stripes, and this is what I would call section 2, where I did the pink and red stripes. And then you start this short row section, which has all 3 of your colors. Now this is where, hopefully in a close-up you can see. Okay, yeah, that shows it pretty well. Yeah, most of the time the delineation between colors is okay, but you know, I don't know. I think it could have benefited from just a little more contrast. Anyway, one thing that I do like about this shawl, once you have the pattern memorized, which, you know, it's very, very easy to memorize. It is a garter stitch shawl. All you really have to memorize is your increases. You do more increases on some rows than you do on others. You know, I'm not going to give away too much of it because it is a paid for pattern. In the short row section, you know, at the beginning you kind of have to pay attention, but once you get going, you know, it's pretty easy to do. So I am a Netflix binge watcher, like extraordinaire. I love to grab a show that I've never watched before, and you know, it has, you know, between 4 and 8 seasons or whatever, and then I just power through that sucker. Uh, I won't get into all the shows that I've done this with, but right now I am powering my way through the show Wentworth. It is a British show. It features a women's prison, and it's been very, very good. I just finished season 2 this morning. Why this morning? Because I was watching it last night and I was so tired. I was like 10 minutes away from the end of the season finale for season 2, and I was just so tired I had to go to bed. So first thing this morning, I got up, I brewed some coffee, and I watched the last 10 minutes. And then I went to work. But it's been a great show. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I will give this disclaimer because, you know, here I am going on and on about how great the show is. I will tell you, it is a violent show. It uses a lot of foul language. It can be very raunchy. It's a dark show, has very difficult topics. If those things don't appeal to you, you might not want to watch this show. I think it's very interesting, very, very good, and I think that the acting is excellent, and the writing has been superb. But again, if you don't like the raunchy subject matter and violence, and you don't care for the F word, then you probably should not watch it. At any rate, so that's what I've been doing. I'm watching Wentworth, and I'm knitting this shawl while I watch it. And I have just been powering through this. Like I say, I am not a fast knitter, but for some reason, this is going fast for me. For one, I have noticed that when I knit things that are striped, I seem to be more voracious in my knitting. For whatever reason, there must be something psychological at play, because I'll be like, okay, I finished that stripe. Okay, just one more stripe. Okay, just one more stripe. Okay, just one more stripe. I just keep going on and on like that. Where if I'm doing just, you know, an expanse of one color, it's just, I don't know, monotonous. I don't know what it is, but this just keeps me plugging along at a good clip, and I can't even believe how far I've gotten. I started this on, oh, it was Saturday. I started on Saturday. Last Saturday was my birthday, and my mom had invited us over. She wanted to make us dinner, which was very nice. But when I was at her house, I cast on for this. And I only knit a little bit while I was there, but like I said, I have a full-time job and other responsibilities, and today is Thursday, and whew, look at this sucker. I got quite a bit done. And you're looking at the wrong side. Here's the right side. And it's upside down. Anyway, it's been an enjoyable knit, and I think I will probably knit another one sometime in the future, and I will make different color selection choices. Another thing I saw when I was looking at other people's finished objects, I loved, someone had done it, that, you know, this is considered main color, and then the color you stripe it with here is contrast color 2, and then when you start your short rows, you add in the contrast color 2. So for me, it was Seashell was main color, Melbeck was contrast 1, and Train Station was contrast 2. Anyway, somebody had used a solid, like medium gray for their main color. And for their contrast color 1, they used a Zauberball. And so it was in bright colors, like rainbow colors. So I liked that very neutral base with the contrasting bright gradient color going through that. I really like that a lot. I didn't see what their contrast color 2 was, but I think I might try that at some point. I've never used a Zauberball, and I've always wanted to. This might be a great project to do that. So at any rate, I just want to get through this one first. We'll see how that goes. I have been also listening to the Very Pink podcasts. I don't know if any of you are aware, but Stacy Perry from Very Pink, who has a very successful YouTube channel and website, she is now doing audio podcasts as well. It's a great podcast if you just want one that you listen to, where you don't require a video to watch. But she answers questions. People email in questions, and she answers them in the podcast. But several podcasts ago, she talked about process knitters versus project knitters. And I got thinking about that, and I know for sure which one I am. But a process knitter, and I'm not going to say this even slightly as eloquently as she did, but a process knitter is, like the title says, all about the process. They enjoy the process of knitting. A process knitter will not leave a mistake behind. They will tink back or frog it or whatever they have to and redo it so that it comes out perfect, because for them it's about the process. They want to knit it right. They enjoy the act of knitting it. And then there are project knitters. Project knitters are all about the finished object. They use the process as a means to an end. You have to go through the process in order to get that finished object. I am a project knitter. I want the finished object. I typically love the process, but I don't love it so much that if I have a mistake in my knitting, I've got to pull it all out and redo it. So confession number 3 for this podcast is that every single project that I do has at least one problem with it. Okay, maybe not every single project. In fact, they're becoming fewer and farther between with the more experience I get under my belt. But usually there's some sort of a mistake in there. Usually it's not a big enough deal where anybody would ever notice it. Like, I get to a certain point and count my stitches and there's one missing. I am not going to rip it out and figure out where that one stitch got missed. I'll look it over and make sure that I didn't drop any stitches, but I'm likely just putting in an increase someplace. Make one left, baby. That's how that's getting fixed. Other confessions, I guess. Everything I knit has at least a little bit of dog fur in it. I have a very sweet border collie, and she sheds something fierce. It's a never-ending battle between my husband and I and the dog fur. And yeah, there's a little bit of my little Sadie in every single project that I make. But at any rate, I think that's all of the content that I have for today. There are other things that I am tempted to share, but I don't know how much is too much. And you guys can be my guide. There are other crafts that I occasionally do. I wouldn't spend too much time on it, but I don't know if you're interested in seeing other things, or if you just want to keep it strictly to the knitting. And I am one of these, I'm kind of like a shiny object type of person. Different things come around and I have different interests at different times, and the only thing I kind of stick with is knitting. But I like to experiment. Like right now I'm experimenting with getting rid of shampoo. I'm not shampooing my hair anymore. I have been using cleansing conditioner, and it's just an experiment so far. I haven't been doing it very long, but I just wanted to see if it improved the overall quality of my hair. I'm not sure if other people might be interested in that too. I have very, very, very thick hair. If I didn't have it up in this ponytail, I just have this mess of hair. And even in the ponytail, you can see I don't have this little petite ponytail. I have this big mop hanging off the back of my head. But my hair is very thick and it's very coarse. It's not like that silky soft Pantene Pro V stuff you see in commercials. So I'm trying this as an experiment. If you're interested, I will give you an update on how that goes. I'm seeing if this regimen can improve the quality of my hair. Oh, what else am I doing? I'm doing HelloFresh, which is a service that delivers food to your house. Well, the ingredients you need to prepare food using recipes that were developed by chefs. Um, my husband and I love it. It has had its shortcomings. There are some negative things I could say, but overall, we love the service. I'd be willing to tell you all about that if you're interested. Just let me know how much is too much. I know that you've come here for the knitting. If you'd like bonus content at the end, let me know, and I'll add a little bit here and there. I don't think I'm gonna plan to go too nuts. Anyway, I believe that's it. So until next time, cast on another. Thanks.